Hello, Homespot friends. Ready to transform your outdoor space into a cozy, rustic garden retreat? In this video, we'll explore DIY landscaping and decor ideas to bring nature, vintage charm, and handcrafted warmth to your yard. Stick around until the end for clever tips that breathe life into your garden. Old metal tubs or wooden barrels aged with rust and patina become rustic raised beds. They bring height, texture, and vintage industrial flair among flowering perennials or herbs. Their curved forms soften rigid edges, while the metal sheen warms over time into a glowing antique centerpiece in natural surroundings. To prepare a barrel planter, drill drainage holes and line with landscape fabric. Fill with quality soil and plant in layers, trailing vines, mid-sized blooms, and small fillers at the top. The result feels curated yet casual, a humble vessel brimming with life that blends seamlessly into a nature-filled yard. A weathered metal or wood wheelbarrow transformed into a planter exudes nostalgic charm. Set among flower beds with its worn paint and rustic wheel, it feels like a relic from farmhouse life. Overflowing with trailing blooms, it becomes a living vignette that anchors a rustic retreat with story and personality. DIY steps include stabilizing the barrow, adding drainage, and planting a layered mix. Bold center flowers, cascading edges, and soft fillers. Position it on gravel or lawn as focal point. Over seasons, the blooms spill over the rim and attract pollinators, creating serene visual harmony in a nature-rich space. Reclaimed ceramic or cast iron sinks placed in garden corners become unconventional planters with vintage flair. Their basins cradle seasonal blooms or succulents, offering unexpected containers that catch the eye. The aged patina and nostalgic form remind visitors of old country homes, adding rustic character with gentle elegance. Convert by adding drainage holes or planting in containers inside the basin. Choose low-maintenance plants like rosemary, sedums, or trailing ivy. Position near seating or pathways for surprise beauty. Over time, moss or fern seed may colonize cracks, softening hard surfaces and weaving the sink planter into the garden's natural narrative. A cluster of galvanized buckets filled with mixed blooms animates the rustic garden with informal cheer. Their mismatched shapes and heights create visual rhythm, while the galvanized sheen brings subtle light. Grouped near seating or entries, they anchor a cozy corner brimming with pollinator-friendly herbs and flowers in soft tones. Fill each bucket with soil and diverse plants, lavender, zinnias, or thyme, layered for height and spill. Place buckets directly on gravel or timber staging to encourage drainage. The arrangement can be shifted seasonally or reused indoors. It adds flexible, low-effort charm that feels handcrafted and deeply inviting. Leaning a weathered wooden ladder against a fence or wall becomes a vertical plant showcase. Each rung hosts potted herbs, succulents, or trailing flowers. The slatted silhouette adds an architectural element that draws the eye upward, contrasting the soft greenery with rustic geometry and enhancing the cozy vertical landscape. Paint lightly with chalk paint or leave raw for aged effect. Arrange pots by size and texture for balance. Use reclaimed clay or metal containers to reinforce vintage appeal. The latter can be repositioned seasonally. As vines grow, they weave through rungs, binding the structure into the garden fabric with organic grace. Old rakes, shovels, and forks repurposed as vertical trellis or sculptural art bring rustic whimsy. Leaned or fixed upright, their handles and tines create organic frameworks for climbing vines like clematis or ivy. They act as both functional structures and nostalgic statements of reuse, blending history with living greens. Clean and stabilize vintage tools. Anchor them in beds or soil. Train vines to climb using soft ties. As plants grow, they weave through tool silhouettes, softening metal lines. The result feels spontaneous and poetic, a garden artifact breathing life and narrative into borders, echoing gardening traditions of past hands and tools. Mounted vintage wagon wheels against fences or walls become rustic garden art that anchors space with circular symmetry. Their spokes radiate quietly over leafy backdrops, adding sculptural interest. Weathered wood or iron patina contrasts with blooming vines or mossy growth, layering texture and history into the landscape. Secure wheel to fence or lean on stone wall. Surround base with low plants or mulch. Vines can be gently coaxed to circle the wheel's rim. Whether mounted or freestanding, the wheel's presence evokes rural nostalgia and lends a focal point that grounds garden scenes in rustic heritage. Edging garden beds or pathways with reclaimed brick or flagstone define structure while maintaining organic charm. The uneven stones shift over seasons, allowing moss and creeping plants to soften edges. Combined with lush plant masses, the hardscape adds order without rigidity, ensuring a garden layout that feels both timeless and fluid. Lay stones in shallow trench on sand or compacted soil. Allow gaps for thyme, creeping jenny, or moss to grow. The colors, soft red bricks or gray stones, complement greenery and flowers. Edging defines walkways or beds subtly. Over time, nature reclaims lines, blending built structure into a living, evolving tapestry. Soft string lights, lanterns, and solar lanterns drape around paths, seating, and pergolas to craft warm ambience. Their golden glow ushers in relaxed evenings and accentuates garden textures. Light placement between leafy branches and flower clusters deepens visual layering and lets the garden glow with understated rustic charm. Install solar jars or vintage-look lanterns near seating zones, hung from tree limbs or shepherd's hooks. String lights overhead add festivity without needing outlets. Lighting enriches mood and functionality, a glow that extends garden hours and complements weathered wood and metal textures with warm accent tones. A rustic fountain or basin in aged copper or bronze adds sensory richness with soft water sounds and patinaed texture. It blends into the landscape as if it's always belonged. Surrounded by lush plantings, the feature becomes an organic focal point inviting reflection and wildlife visits. DIY versions may use recycled tubs or bins painted to mimic oxidation. Add a small, solar water pump and pebble base. Water flowing over metal highlights fading copper tones and encourages biodiversity, from bees to frogs, creating an immersive, rustic retreat full of life. A stone or brick fire pit paired with weathered seating becomes a social hearth in the garden. It extends usability into cooler evenings, offering warmth and flickering light. Its rugged surfaces and industrial materials echo rustic aesthetics while anchoring a cozy gathering spot. DIY options include stacked reclaimed brick or flagstone rings. Surround with benches built from rough-hewn logs or pallet wood. Add cushions and blankets in earthy tones. Flames dancing over firewood weave garden elements together into a warm, nature-centered retreat vibe. A wooden arbor or pergola draped in jasmine, clematis, or honeysuckle becomes a living canopy. Softly filtered light and fragrance fill the air. Over time, vines create an intimate, shaded walkway or seating nook that feels layered, romantic, and deeply rooted in nature. Construct from reclaimed posts or salvaged timber for authenticity. Train vines upward using ties and guides. Add hanging planters or lights beneath crossbeams. As foliage fills out, the pergola weaves structure and softness into the space, creating shaded retreats that evolve organically over seasons. Raised beds made from rustic timber host herbs, vegetables, and flowers in layered, foodscape-style plantings. This edible meets decor approach adds multifunctionality. The mix of kitchen plants, fragrant herbs, and cottage garden blooms softens the lines and enriches sensory experience. Build simple frames from aged wood or pallets. Use compost-rich soil and sow herbs like rosemary, thyme, basil alongside chard, lettuces, edible flowers. This foodscaping approach integrates utility and beauty, supporting biodiversity while inviting hands-on interaction in your retreat. Layered plantings of foxgloves, peonies, hydrangeas, sweet peas, echinacea, and roses evoke the romantic cottage aesthetic. Dense planting creates depth and softness, while pollinator-friendly blooms enliven the space throughout seasons. The look is informal, fragrant, and rich in texture. Choose varieties that bloom at different times for continuity. Plant in drifts, mix heights and colors, and allow self-sowers like calendula or daisies. Dense, textured borders feel wild yet curated. This approach embraces slow-growing charm and fosters a seasonally evolving garden tapestry. Tiny benches, miniature gates, and pathways made from twigs, stones, and corks add enchantment to garden corners. These fairy garden nooks invite whimsy and discovery. Hidden among moss or ground cover, they create scale contrast and playful storytelling within plant beds. Collect small natural materials, branches, bark, pebbles, and assemble seating, paths, or tiny planters. Place under shrubs or around planters for surprise. Fairy gardens encourage imagination, bring detail to landscaping, and weave rustic DIY charm into layered planting zones. Iron or wooden window boxes mounted on walls or fences filled with trailing blooms and herbs add vertical interest. They soften hard surfaces and bring planting up to eye level, extending greenery across structures. Their placement enhances color layering and textural contrast. Use reclaimed boxes, line with cocoa fiber or fabric, and plant cascading annuals, sweet peas, petunias, or herbs. Space them evenly or staggered for visual rhythm. These vertical planters feel both purposeful and spontaneous, a rustic frame for seasonal color. Sculptures made from driftwood, weathered metal, or kinetic elements like wind wheels add movement and character. These art pieces complement plant textures and provide focal interest even when blooms fade. They root the garden in handcrafted personality. Use old bicycle wheels, twisted driftwood forms, or metal scraps assembled into mobiles. Position among borders or within open lawns. As wind turns or plants sway, the art breathes alongside nature, tying rustic whimsy into every garden corner. Create cozy seating corners with outdoor rugs, cushions, blankets, and lantern-lit zones. Use earthy colors, floral patterns, and weather-safe fabrics like linen or burlap. These textiles bring layers of softness and warmth into hardscape areas. Furnish seating with wooden chairs or benches, spread cushions in muted pastels or natural fibers, and lay rugs on stone or decking. Add lanterns or solar lights nearby. This soft zone invites lounging, reading, or tea time in your nature-filled rustic retreat. Rustic wooden pallets reclaimed from old crates become charming walkways weaving through garden beds. The muted tones of weathered timber contrast gently with greenery. Each board shows its unique patina and grain, offering a humble, natural path that invites gentle footsteps and a sense of lived-in character. Creating the walkway is a satisfying DIY journey. Clean pallets, remove nails, cut to size, and lay over gravel or soil. Once planted out, moss and creeping thyme can naturally fill seams between boards. This path welcomes visitors into the garden's cozy, cottage-like essence with slow, organic charm. Thank you for watching. We've covered rustic walkways, upcycled planters, vintage decor, layered planting, and dreamy lighting to shape a cozy garden retreat. If you enjoyed these DIY ideas, please hit like, subscribe to Homespot, and leave a comment with your favorite tip or your own project. See you next time.